Hey everybody, welcome to Monday Night Team Call. I'm Emily Gernot and I'm an Emerald Ambassador. And tonight we are talking all about recruiting 101. So kind of the basics, but also some in-depth stuff for those of you that are seasoned recruiters. I think you'll still learn something from this. And hopefully it'll be a good resource for you with your people that are new to sharing or new business builders that come along the way. I have been digging into recruiting big time on my team. Lately, I did a whole week of just nonstop coaching calls with my downline. Anybody in my downline that would humor me and go through recruiting stuff with me, I would dig in with them. And I found a lot of really good information. It was like the best research and development I could ever ask for. I learned a lot because of the feedback that they were giving me and the different set of circumstances that each person was in. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll get diving into it. Okay, start. Okay. 1 second. All right. Can you guys see my screen? Give me a nod. Okay, awesome. Oops, I'm too far. 1 second. All righty, let's start from the beginning, try that again. Okay, cool. All right, so on these coaching calls, one of the things that I asked people was, how does recruiting make you feel? And I wanted to know what their emotions were around recruiting because they can be all over the board. Whether you've been doing this for a super long time or you're brand new to this, you can have all kinds of feelings about recruiting. And so I want to get into that. So a lot of times they were intimidated, they were nervous, they were unprepared, worried about rejection, feeling awkward. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can relate to that after I just spent 8 hours of my day trying to create this presentation because it's my first time doing this. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel intimidated. I feel nervous. I feel unprepared. I feel awkward and nervous. You guys might reject me. I don't know what's going to happen. So I get it. I get those feelings and I've been there in those shoes too. Those are normal feelings and it's something you can overcome. And what if your feelings were different, right? What if instead you felt excited, you felt passionate, you felt confident, enthusiastic, bold, equipped? You can feel all of those things and you will if you continue, right? It's the same type of thing that happens when you start driver's training, right? When you probably first started driver's training, you first got in that car with the stranger sitting next to you with his own set of gas and brakes and steering wheel, and you're about to set out on your first journey in a car, you're probably feeling super nervous, super like unprepared, not really sure what kind of things you might run into, right? Or if this guy next to you is going to judge you, right? Like those are all normal feelings when you're beginning something. But the thing that makes it better is practice, right? Learning and applying what you learn. So if you keep going to driver's training, if you keep learning and you apply what you learn and you go out and practice and you drive over and over and over, it gets easier. You start feeling excited, like, oh my gosh, I can actually get in the car and drive myself to Walmart on my own now, right? And those things continue to build. Pretty soon you're like, okay, I feel confident enough to make a road trip across the country by myself. If you stick with it, if you keep practicing, if you keep learning and applying, you will feel differently about recruiting. And then the last thing is belief in the journey that you're inviting people on, right? Where are you taking people? What do you believe about what you're giving them, offering them? If you believe that you're just doing it for you and you're just trying to get joins for you, you're probably going to feel kind of icky about it. You're probably not going to feel the most confident about it. You're probably going to feel like this is just a transactional relationship with this person. And no wonder you feel yucky, right? So evaluate that. Why do I feel yucky? If it's not because I'm just nervous and I need more practice, then is it because I need a heart check? Is it because I need to know what I'm really offering people? I want to take the mystery out of recruiting as well, right? Sometimes when you're getting started, this is especially tricky when you're first getting started. I'll just give myself as an example. It took me a whole month of working my butt off to go silver. Actually, I don't think I even went silver in my first 30 days. I think it was into the next 30 days. And so I was looking to the right and left and thinking, oh my gosh, this person is moving so fast, and this person is getting all these joins. It seems so easy for them. So it's easy to get caught up in the comparison thing and think, well, it's just because of XYZ. They just have a huge network. They just have whatever. You could come up with all kinds of excuses why other people succeed and you might not be succeeding, right? But what's actually happening when you get caught in comparison is your brain is conspiring against you to find proof that you're not cut out for this. So if somebody else is succeeding easily, or what seems like easily, and you're not, your brain is saying, see, I told you so. I told you couldn't do this. I told you wouldn't be successful. That's your own brain working against you. So quit looking at other people and start looking at what it is that they have mastered in order to grow that quickly, right? There's reasons why people grow quickly. And we're going to break that down. I don't know if you guys are reading this, but I wrote, why does it seem like Lucy could sneeze and accidentally go gold while I'm over here hustling for silver for 3 months, right? Sometimes it feels like that. Sometimes it's like, oh, she just accidentally went diamond. Wow, must be nice, right? But the reality is there are 4 quadrants to recruiting. And chances are, if they went diamond by accident in 3 months, then all 4 quadrants are working for them, or they have disproportionately one thing that's working extremely well. So we're going to learn how to control the controllables and trust the process, right? Because all of the elements of recruiting are within your control. You can absolutely grow in each of these 4 quadrants and see results. I am guaranteeing it, I promise. Okay, so what are the 4 quadrants of recruiting? First one is the size of your network. The second one is influence. The third one is numbers. And by numbers, I mean the number of people that you're talking to, the number of people that you're following up with, the number of social media posts. The last one is time and consistency. So I'm going to break down each quadrant of what things kind of make up that quadrant. And then you're going to start to see how these things are within your control. So size of your network. Your age, that's the only thing you can't control, right? If you're 18 years old, you've probably got 10 years under your belt of growing your network. If you're 50, then you've got 40 years under your belt of growing your network. So you can't really change your age, but you can change a lot of these other things and control those things in order to grow your network. Second thing is lifestyle. Personally, before Plexus, I was the hermit of all hermits. I didn't really want to go out and hang out with a bunch of people. Like, that was my nightmare. So learning to start to love those things and actually involve myself in the community and get to know people and become more open to people, that's been a big lifestyle change for me. Extrovert versus introvert. I'm introverted. Still can be successful at this, right? If you're extroverted or introverted, doesn't really matter. What matters is your effort. So if you are introverted like myself, you just know that you need alone time to recharge. But once you're recharged, you can send yourself back out into the world and continue to make connections and grow your network. Next thing is community involvement. Being involved with people in person or online. This could be an online community that you're involved in. Common interest groups are great for that type of thing. Next thing is effort in meeting new people. It's easy to kind of get caught in your own little small network or your circle of friends that you trust and you know, but you do have to continue to grow your network and expand. So any ways that you can do that, whether it's joining in a Bible study or being involved in your kids' sports or after work groups that get together, think of anything to grow your network and be involved and make effort into meeting new people. Next thing is body language. This is something I feel like I had to learn the hard way. I feel like I had to learn a lot of these things the hard way because I was the shy, awkward, strange girl, So I had to learn how to be a little more inviting, a little bit more open. And so just some simple things, like if you're meeting people in person and you're the one that's like arms crossed over your chest and you're leaned back, that makes you look unapproachable. People probably won't come up to you. But if you're open body language, right? Like your chest is open, your face is up, you're making eye contact with people, you're leaning into conversation, you're actually like engaging with them. That can make a big difference and it makes you look more approachable. Or even like when you're walking up to people, be the first one to extend your hand for a handshake or your arms for a hug. Those things make you more open to other people in relationships. And then the last thing is initiative. This is especially important in our business in health and wellness because people are so closed off a lot of times about their health. They've probably been suffering in silence for a really long time. They've probably gone to doctors over and over and over and have not felt seen or heard or validated in their concerns. And so people are gun shy about reaching out first, right? They might see your post forever and ever, but you might have to be that one that initiates it first. Okay, so second thing is influence and things that contribute to that. Integrity, just being that person that you say that you are, right? Like being the person that shows up and does the things that you say you're going to do, being the same person in front of people as you are behind the scenes. That's important and it builds trust. Building trust over time. This is something I had an uphill battle with as well in the beginning of my business. People didn't really trust me. I had moved all over the country, been through 2 divorces, just all kinds of like relationship drama and ending of relationships and friendships and, strife between family members and things like that. So people didn't really trust me and they had good reason not to. And so I had to put the time and the effort into actually building trust and being that person of integrity over time. Next thing is adding value. You can do this in so many different ways, whether you educate, entertain, make people laugh, solve a problem for them. There's so many different ways that you can add value. You just have to do it in a way that's authentic to you. What do you enjoy doing? What do you enjoy doing with people? What's something that you're really educated in? Think about those things and see where you can add value. Sometimes it's just as easy as sending a message to encourage someone, right? It can be that simple. You can just be that person that goes to people without an agenda and encourages them. That adds value to people. Genuine connection. Seek to connect with people genuinely. Just finding things that you have in common with them, calling out strengths that you see in them. That's a genuine way to connect. Consistency, just showing up, doing the things, being that person that's online every single day in the same types of ways where people build trust with you online. Reliability, just do what you say you're going to do. Social proof or success in something. This can be super beneficial. So like if Plexus is your main thing that you're promoting online, what is something else in your life that you are successful in? Maybe you're successful at cooking, like cooking is your jam and you're awesome at it. You write your own recipes, you create your own things. That's proof of success in something. And it gives you influence with people because they're like, oh, she's good at something I'm not good at yet. And so they'll follow you or look to you for inspiration or education in something. And then communication style and effectiveness. So learning to communicate with people is kind of the cornerstone of influence as well. Just understanding and knowing how people communicate, what clicks with them versus what clicks with you. But we'll get into that a little bit more later. Next thing to track is numbers and what to track and evaluate. anything that you can track, you can improve upon. And it's fun to track things and watch that improvement happen, right? So like I'm a little bit of a numbers geek, and I like to track things, whether it's for myself, for my team. It's really beneficial to know the effort that you're putting in and the outcome you're getting from it, right? Because if you can take that feedback and apply it and actually make improvements, you'll see the results continue to rise. So things that I track are new contacts. So people I reach out to in person, on the phone, online. Any way you talk to people, making a new contact is a new contact. Follow-ups, in-person interactions, social media posts, response rate, number of events hosted, and number of friends added to your network. Those are all things you can easily track and you can easily improve upon. So if your numbers are a certain way for 3 months in a row and you're not getting the joins that you want to from that, then it's time to look at, okay, maybe I need to do more in a certain area. Maybe I need to increase my new contacts or my follow-ups. And then time and consistency, what to evaluate there. So in this quadrant, you're looking at length of time in the business. If this is your very first week versus 4 years in, your first week, you don't have very much consistency to your name yet, but you're getting there. And then number of days or months consistently doing the work. This is something I wanted to touch on real quick, just because sometimes the temptation with Plexus or with your own home-based business is that when life gets tough or when things get busy, Plexus is an easy thing to shove off your plate. You're like, oh, I'm going to table this for right now, and I'm going to come back to it. I'm going to close my doors for just a week or a month or 2 months, and then I'm going to bring it back in and open the doors back up again. This is self-sabotage, right? This is, so what I think about when I think about inconsistency like that is something similar to investing in your money into the market. What am I thinking? I can't think of the name, but stocks, investing into the stock market. So think about it like that. If you are starting investing at age 18 and you retire at 60 and pull all your money out of the market, then versus when you start at 30, the difference is millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. It's like a massively, massive, huge difference. Same thing if you put your money into the stock market and then take it out for 5 years and then put it back in. You're missing out on millions and millions and millions of dollars. The same is true with this business because of the compound effect. Things compound over time. And anytime you pull back or you retreat from your business or you close your doors and then you start back up again, even if it's a week or 2 weeks at a time, you will feel the difference from that. There's just no way around it. And then look at time per day invested. Are you investing half an hour? Are you investing 4 hours? And this is different for each person because of your goals. So your time invested per day should be reflective of your goals. If you're wanting to get to diamond in a year, you're probably going to have to invest quite a bit more time than the person that wants to get to gold in a year. And there's nothing wrong with either of those paths. There's a place for everybody to succeed in Plexus at their pace, at their level. But you do have to reflect and think, okay, if I'm only putting in 15 minutes here and 15 minutes there, I'm probably not going to go diamond in a year. So just being realistic about that. Next thing is time invested into growing your skills. Nobody's supervising you to make sure that you graduate from Plexus College, right? It's up to you. So if you're investing time into growing and putting your booty through Plexus College, then you're going to reap the rewards from that. If you're ignoring that and thinking, oh, I could just be an amateur all the way to diamond, you're fooling yourself, right? You do have to grow those skills and become an expert at network marketing. Time invested into personal development and mindset. You have to pour into yourself. It's important. You just do. We talk about that a lot, so I'm not going to talk about it a ton, but what you learn, apply it. Consistency with social media, just showing up every day, whether it's in your stories, putting up posts, reels, whatever it is, whatever mode of social media that you use, just use it every day. Do something every day on social media. Dedication to the mundane tasks. Sometimes the tasks that we have to do with Plexus is like brushing your teeth or taking out the garbage, right? It's maybe not the most exciting thing ever, or maybe it's not something you're like, oh, I can't wait to do that. But you just got to do it, right? Just like you brush your teeth and you take out the trash. You just got to do it. Okay, so evaluating your 4 quadrants. This is where it's going to get a little bit interactive. So hopefully you guys brought a blank sheet of paper and some pens or pencils or whatever you want to use. But this is my pie chart. I was real proud of myself for making a pie chart today because it took me forever to figure it out. Okay, so these are your 4 quadrants. And what you're going to do is on your blank sheet of paper, draw yourself a circle and draw yourself a cross through it just like this, but don't fill anything in yet. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to rate yourself on each of the 4 quadrants. And I'll do this with you guys. So I'll just be the example. So in size of network, I feel like my network has grown a ton. It's pretty big right now. I'm going to give myself an 8 out of 10. For influence, I feel like that has grown a lot too. Still have some room to improve. 8 out of 10 for me. Numbers, I would say I do less numbers now than I used to do, as far as reach outs, follow-ups go. And so I'm going to give myself a 6 out of 10. And then time and consistency, I'm going to give myself a 5 out of 10 because the time invested into it each day on recruiting is a little bit lower as well. And so this is an example of what that might look like for you. So once you've rated yourself, fill in your quadrants respectively to your numbers. So if you're 10 out of 10 in your network, fill that slice of the pie all the way in. You guys kind of get the picture, right? So you're gonna fill in your slices of pie respectively to how you rated yourself. So if you look at what you got there, it's kind of probably a little bit of an irregular shape, right? And the idea, what we want is for all of those things to be filled in completely, right? That would give us a perfect wheel. And wheels can spin really fast. If you were to try to spin this thing or travel anywhere on this circle, it would be pretty wobbly, right? So we're going to move on to my wobbly wheels. So I'm going to give you guys some examples of different wobbly wheels and what that looks like in real life, right? So Andrea's wobbly wheel, she has a huge network, but she has low influence, which might mean she's been very socially active, but she might not be the most trustworthy person. She might be a little bit of drama, right? So she's got huge network, but not very much influence with those people. She's doing super high numbers. She's putting in the work, but her time and consistency is low. So maybe on Mondays, she sends out 50 messages. So she's got those high numbers, but she's not doing it every day. Or one day she posts 4 posts and then she doesn't post again for a month, right? That's what that can look like. And Andrea might be able to recruit 3-4 people a month doing things this way. But if she would grow in those other quadrants, her wheel would only spin faster. Jessica's wobbly wheel, she's got lots of influence, but a super teeny tiny network. So for Jessica, that probably looks like, she has a really tight knit group of friends and she talks to the same 4 people every single day. If she goes out with the same 2, 3, 4 people every time. she's involved in maybe one thing outside of her home, but she's more of a homebody. But she has tons of influence with those people. They know her, they trust her, they like her, they know where she's going in life. She's got tons of influence with those people. And she's doing moderate numbers. So she's, maybe she's doing 3, 2, 1, and she's doing it consistently. She's sending out 3 new messages or putting up 3 posts a day, sending out 2 new messages and 1 follow-up every day. She's super consistent with that. She's going to grow, but she could grow faster again if she would increase in the other areas. Rodney's wobbly wheel. He's got a moderately large network, medium influence, but he's doing the work. Like, he's putting in the time, he's putting in the work. He is really hustling. He's doing like all the numbers. He's sending out like 20 messages a day. He's sending out 1 million follow-ups a day. And he is super consistent, dedicated, driven, right? That's a great combination, but he needs to grow his network and he needs to grow his influence. Last example, Linda's wobbly wheel. She's got a massive network. She's got a ton of influence. She's killing it on the network and the influence. Couldn't be better, right? Linda's the type of person that could call up 4 friends in one day and sign them all up because she's got influence and she's got the network to pull from. But she's doing minimal numbers. So what this might look like for somebody is she knows she has all that influence. She knows that she has all that network. And so on the 28th of every month, she calls up 3 people and says, hey, do Plexus with me. And they're like, sweet, awesome, sign me up, right? So she's putting in very minimal effort and time and consistency because she knows she's got the influence and she's got the network. So she could grow exponentially faster. Her wheel could spin faster if she would put in more effort into the numbers and time and consistency. Okay, so we're going to look at resources to grow your network. I have for each quadrant, I have some suggestions on books. Since you are enrolled in Plexus College when you signed up, this is the stuff that you want to be learning. Okay, first book is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Super old book, super relevant still. Super duper old book. I think it was written in like the 30s, maybe 40s. So some of the things in there are a little bit weird and seem like they don't apply, but the book in general is phenomenal and you definitely can still apply it. And then How to Talk to Anyone is another great book by Lyle Lowndes. I don't know how to say his last name. And then social media trainings, they are a dime a dozen, right? Like you can find social media trainings anywhere. Use Google. Okay, resources for growing your influence. Any books by John Maxwell. He has 950 books, at least at this point. There's so many. There's so many John Maxwell books, and they will all help you grow your influence because his whole leadership principles are founded on the basis of leadership being influence, nothing more, nothing less. The 4 color personalities of MLM. In order to have influence with people, you need to understand people. A lot of times people have a pretty limited understanding of themselves, let alone other people. So I always suggest that people start to learn about the different personalities because you're going to learn to communicate differently with different people. You're going to talk their language. Same thing with The Road Back to You. That's another great book. It's about the Enneagram. And those are just tools to help you understand people and to understand yourself and to communicate in a way that lands with people. And then interest-specific books, podcasts, or articles to expand your knowledge and add value on a topic. Anytime you can add value to people, you can grow your influence. And so like what that looks like for me is I'm obsessed with horses and barrel racing. So I'm constantly learning about that stuff. And I try to add value by posting things that are either educational, inspiring, or relevant to other people in my industry. Resources for numbers. The Dough app is great if you're somebody that likes to be super duper organized. with your reach outs, follow-ups, and that type of thing. That's great for that. It's going to help you keep track of your numbers really easily. I wrote down the grid and tally technique. I did a video that's in Pink Power about that, but essentially I just write a bunch of people's names. I try to do 100 a month down the side of a piece of paper. And then I create columns next to that. And I physically write it down because my brain works better that way. But I physically write down their names, write down the columns for send, share, invite. And every time that I interact with that person, whether it's the initial message or follow up, I put a tally next to their name. And then eventually I've got, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15 tallies by each person's name all the way down my paper by the end of the month. And what I noticed is the more tallies on my paper, the more people I'm signing up. And what I do is when I sign somebody up, I highlight their name on that piece of paper. And it is seriously like the weirdest dopamine hit ever. And it makes you feel so good when all of a sudden you've got like all these highlighted lines and names down your paper and all these tallies. You're like, oh my gosh, I really did it. I did the thing. And so it's just really great, especially for people in the beginning, to visually see when I do the work, when I put in the numbers, and I actually put in the inputs, I get the results back. So that's my shameless plug for that technique. Books, Chop Wood and Carry Water by Joshua Medcalf. Super great book that helps you understand how to value the process of where we're going. Next one is Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. I think probably a lot of us read that through book club, but if you're new here, I would highly suggest The Slight Edge. Another one is Fanatical Prospecting, and then The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. Those are all really good resources for that quadrant. Okay, Resources for Time and Consistency. Atomic Habits by James Clear, another book club book that we did, but worth rereading if you've already read it. The Power of One More by Ed Mylett. And then your calendar is actually a great tool for your time and consistency. So especially like a physical calendar where you can like physically draw a line through the days that you're putting in the work. So if you have committed to 5 days a week doing a certain amount of activity, reach outs, follow-ups, posts, things like that, and you complete your work, cross that date out in your calendar and try to keep your streak going. That consistency will compound. As simple as it sounds, it really does make a difference. And then tracking growth patterns over long periods of time. It can be easy getting caught up in feeling like this is a month-to-month business, but it's not a month-to-month business. This is a legacy business that you're building. And over time, you will notice trends in your business, whether it's yearly trends, quarterly trends, trends based on your activity, your team's activity, but tracking any type of patterns like that can be really beneficial over time. But think about it with that long-term mindset, looking at, comparing year over year or 90 days over 90 days is more beneficial than week by week. Setting daily and weekly standards. Only you can decide how much you want to work this business, how far and how fast you want to go. But your standards should represent your goals, because you won't get your goals if your standards don't uphold them. You have to set standards that make sense for your goals. And if you follow through on your standards, you'll get your goals. Rewarding yourself for consistently following through. This is a long-term business, right? But there's no reason as a sole proprietor, business owner, that you can't get yourself ice cream once a week if you finished your IPA for 5 days in a row. If you kept your streak going all month long, go buy yourself something nice, a t-shirt, right? Like it can be anything, but reward yourself along the way, because you're your own boss and you get to be the one that rewards yourself. And it makes it more fun. It does something to your brain where your brain's like, oh, we did the thing. I got the reward. Now I just need to keep doing it. Okay. So I'm going to bust into effective recruiting in the DMs, direct messages, for those of you that don't know what that means. Okay, so with messaging people and trying to recruit online, messaging people personally, you have to begin with the end in mind. You have to know where you're taking them, right? You need an outline or roadmap for where you are going. Otherwise, you're just sending messages out into the universe and there's no purpose or end goal, right? A lot of people are really great at connecting with people all day long, but they don't know how to actually get them to the point of purchase. And that's what you got to get really good at, is having a roadmap in mind for where you're taking these people. If you don't have a roadmap, you will end up in the never-ending loop of connecting with people and never putting your offer out there. The goal is to identify the problem, provide the solution, and invite them to get started on the journey. You are an agent for change in their life by offering them good information and to be empowered to make a decision. Let them be the hero of their own story by giving them information and confidence that they need to begin. You do not ever have to coerce people, convince people, or try to just get people, drag people along. That's not how we recruit, right? It's more like you have a life raft and you're surrounded by people that are drowning, right? You just keep throwing the life raft out there, keep throwing it out there, throwing it out there, throwing it out there. And then the people that are hungry for change, the people that are ready to take that life raft and be saved, like, they're going to take it, right? And the people that aren't ready aren't. And so it's not your job to make the decision for them or to convince them of anything that they don't want to do. Your job is to be the agent of change, to keep throwing the life raft. So the elements of recruiting in the DMs. First of all, initiating the conversation. Like I said in the beginning, a lot of times people need you to go to them first. They're not brave enough or courageous enough to reach out to you, so you might have to be the one that initiates the conversation. And then when you initiate a conversation, end with a question about sending more info. I personally feel more authentic when I send an initial message that includes Plexus, because that is what I'm doing. That is what I'm offering them, right? I have no shame in that. I'm excited to offer them Plexus. I think it's the best thing ever. So I'm excited to offer that to them. I don't feel like I need to warm them up or keep connecting with them over and over and over for a year before I ever bring up Plexus. That just makes it weird to me. That's a personal opinion. Other people do that very well. But for me, it feels way more authentic to just be upfront. The second thing is to send a third-party tool, like a short video or an infographic. I included the one that I use a lot for adrenal fatigue syndrome. It just lists some symptoms and it helps people identify the problem more so. So if they're complaining about any of these symptoms, I will send that chart and I'll be like, are any of the other symptoms related to you, or do you identify with any of those? I'll do the same thing with candida overgrowth. And you can find infographics like that super easily. Get on Google and type in candida overgrowth, for instance, and then go to images, and you're going to find a million infographics just like that. And they work really good for helping people identify the problem. And then don't make it about the video or the infographic. Immediately ask them a question about their health goals or challenges. Don't make it about the video, because people get stuck there. They'll send a video and then they'll, later that day, they'll be like, did you watch the video? And they'll say, no, I didn't. And then you'll be like, oh, okay, I'll check back later. And then you check back tomorrow. You're like, hey, did you watch the video? And they're like, nope, I didn't. And so then you're like their teacher, following up with them to make sure that they did their homework. And that makes it weird. So don't make it weird and don't make it about the video. Ask them a question about themselves, their health goals, their challenges, get them talking. Then the next thing is send an infographic with a list of symptoms, like I talked about here. Help them identify which ones apply. And then share a testimony that shows social proof that Plexus is helping with their specific issues. Testimonies are super powerful. People can connect with them really well. And then ask them if they have any concerns or reservations. Dig for objections. Don't dance around them. People, I think, especially in the beginning, when they're just getting started, they're like super nervous about objections. Like, oh, what do I say if they think it's too expensive? Or what do I say if they're worried about the ingredients? Or, they're just kind of like worrying and dancing around the objections, trying not to necessarily bring them up. But the best thing that you can do is let those babies surface. You want to bring all the objections to the surface so that you can handle them and so that they can feel confident moving forward. And then when you discover their objection, use the feel, felt, found method. An example of that is, I totally get how you feel. I felt that way too. But what I found is blah, blah, blah. So you can use that in a million different ways to connect with people and make them feel validated. And make sure it's true for you. If you didn't feel that way, talk about a friend that you know that felt that way. The next thing would be to say something like, would you like me to send you a few budget-friendly options for you to get started with? And if they're like, yes, sweet, send them to me. I give them 3 options and ask which one they like best. I don't have kids, but a lot of you do. And I'm sure you do the same thing with your kids. When you want them to eat vegetables, you probably give them 3 vegetables to pick from, not a vegetable, a candy bar, and a grilled cheese sandwich. Like you're like, do you want broccoli, carrots, or peas? Which one sounds the best to you? And it empowers them because they're like, oh, I have a decision in this thing. And you get to feed your child vegetables instead of a candy bar. So same type of thing here. And the way that I position it is I send the largest welcome pack, a medium-sized welcome pack, and a smaller welcome pack. Only welcome pack options, not retail customer, not one product options, never, never. So the reason that I do that is because of something I learned when I was in hair school many moons ago. They said to give people options and to give them 3 price points, because if they have 3 price points, they'll likely choose the moderate to aggressive approach, like my example here. But yet they won't feel like you're pushing on them the most expensive thing. So the way that I position it is I say, this is our most aggressive approach for what you have going on. This is the largest welcome pack. It has Reset plus all the other goodies. But we also have a moderate approach if you feel like you need to be on a smaller budget. And then I explain just a little blurb about that, or I just send the welcome pack graphics. And then I give them the beginner approach. So they feel like, okay, if I need to, I can go with the smaller one, the beginner approach. But if I really want to tackle this thing head on, then I can use the aggressive approach, right? So it's up to them. It's like, okay, I can get results faster. I can go with the larger welcome pack and really tackle this thing head on, or I can be a beginner and start somewhere. Okay. And then ask for the close. This is where people get hung up. I found this out in my coaching calls a lot. People don't know how to ask. So I just included a couple examples. This is one of them. Awesome. Do you have any other reservations, or are you ready to get started? And here again, I'm digging for objections. Like, let me at those objections, give them to me, right? Like, I just want to handle them and move on. So I'm going to invite them to give me any objections. And this is actually going to contribute to your retention more than you think. They might think, oh, is this on a subscription? And then there, you can handle that objection, right? Or how long do I have before I would see results? That's a common objection as well. You can set them up for success in long-term use of the products by saying, hey, it varies for everybody. Everybody's body is so different, but this is really something you should commit to for the next 4 to 6 to 8 months at a time, because it's such a process, right? And you want to peel back those layers of your health and really get to the root causes of what you have going on. So there's an example of how you handle an objection while you're trying to close. Another one, that's a great option. You'll love it after they've picked a welcome pack. And then, do you have any other questions or concerns, or are you ready to get started? See how I'm giving them that either or. You either have an objection or you're ready to start. You have an objection or you're ready to start. That's their only two options, right? Like, you have to object to me and you have to tell me what it is, or you're starting today. And that confidence will help people make that purchase decision and just go ahead and grab the life raft, right? That's what you want them to do ultimately. If they've got problems that we can solve with Plexus, whether it's financial or with the products, then your job is to continue to throw the life raft and to help them grab it, right? Just tell them like, hey, it's okay. It's time to get going, right? And talk to these people like they're your best friends. Like, I know that we want to be professional and we should be professional in what we're doing. But you'll get a lot further with people if you just let your guard down and you talk to them like your friends. And for me, sometimes that looks like, gosh, I'm just so excited for you to get started. And I'll send this in a voice clip or something, and they can hear my enthusiasm. They can see that I'm a real person. They feel like they know me a little bit different on a different level if it's a voice clip versus just a regular DM. And they know that I'm excited and I'm going to be there with them through the journey. So stuff like that makes a big difference. Okay, I am done with the presenting part. Hang on one second. Okay, cool. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. I don't really have a great spot to end off on, but this is going to have to be it because we are way over on time. But thank you guys for joining me tonight. And I hope that this was super helpful, and I hope that you have a great night.